Hi, I'm Manny Apolonio. I'm a certified financial planner professional, and I'm also a financial life coach. In every video, I share insights in the area of personal finance and personal development. I truly believe that leveling up your relationship with money and success is the true path to financial independence. So it all starts with your mindset. So let's dive into today's topic. Today's topic is on Christmas spending and how we might feel a really strong desire to maintain a facade of fiscal abundance through the season, despite not actually having the funds to do it. I'm speaking from personal experience and anecdotes shared with me over the last 17 years that I've been in the financial services industry. Overextended spending or spending beyond one's budget during the holidays might manifest in some different ways. Here are a few scenarios that came to mind. How about buying presents that you can't afford, putting high-cost travel expenses like holiday flights to visit family on a credit card, and or hosting an event despite not having the true financial wherewithal to do so in the name of merriment and keeping the spirit of the holidays alive. Now, I'm no Grinch, and I like the holidays enough, but for me, at different times in my life, I've felt the financial stress of the holidays. In fact, because of the financial stress, I tend to dislike this time of year the most because of societal pressures to show up in a certain way in our hyper-consumption-driven economy. It starts with Black Friday in November, and it doesn't end until I get back into the office in January. It can be stressful. In this video, I want to share my insights on what might be going on cognitively and how we might reprogram our thinking to better cope with holiday-induced financial stress, and also establish new behaviors around the area of spending to please others. Be sure to stick around to the very end where I share what I've done personally to change my thinking about the holidays and how it's once again for me the most wonderful time of the year. Before I jump in, a big thank you to those who have already subscribed. Your support means so much to me because it helps me going emotionally, and ultimately will help me financially, which is great because it'll help me with my bigger mission of making certified financial planner level advice available for free to an audience that isn't typically served by the profession today. Mainly the rest of the 95% of us not in the top 5% of wealthy folks in this country. Okay, so sorry for that long tangent, but I thought I'd explain to you what I'm doing here and what my goals are. Again, this whole channel is about goals and intentionality, folks. Okay, I'd love it if you did me a huge favor and be sure to like this video if you find it helpful or entertaining. If you do, could you also subscribe to my channel? That helps me get into YouTube's coveted category of content creators that can receive ad revenue, and also you'll see more of me. Me? Ego? What ego? No, really though, the ad revenue will help offset the time and effort I put into these videos. Okay, so let's dive in. There is an expectation for some around this time of year to spend money on presents for our friends and family. The pressure of needing to have the money to do so, this kind of thing can be anxiety producing. Personally, I am not going to buy presents this year because it's not a priority of mine this year. I got myself into debt remodeling my 2 first real estate properties at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, so I have to prioritize servicing those debt obligations. So for me, that's a pretty strong reason why I will not participate in holiday spending despite wanting to. Now, this doesn't mean that I love my family and friends any less. It just means that I have to be a little bit more creative and thoughtful about how I want to express that love. So this year, my friends and a cousin will spend a few days with me here down in Palm Springs, and we'll share an experience here that I am hoping will be more meaningful than me buying them a gift. Now, I have in the past gone into credit card debt to make Christmas happen, and I think it was driven by a desire to people please. People pleasing, at least for me, is a response to a fear that I will not be accepted for who I am. Who I am, or at least part of me, chooses not to spend on gifts for the holidays this season. Now, some fears come up, and I'm fearful that I will be seen as cheap and selfish. No one in my family has ever said that. No one's validated these fears, but they live in my psyche and have been in the past really strong drivers for behavior that put me in a financially disadvantaged position. In my money story, that story tells me a few things. Some of it is true, some of it is just my perception, interpretation, but nonetheless, it's influencing behavior. In my family of origin, I believe that in order to be loved, you had to do something for it in return. In other words, love was not freely given, it was conditional. So, this is not all the time, but it was a lot of the time. Another part of my money story comes from cultural expectations. That being said, I also come from an immigrant family. I am an immigrant. I was born in the Philippines and I immigrated here when I was 14 months old. I became a naturalized citizen when I was 10. So I've always kind of straddled these two worlds, the American world of individualism and the Filipino world of collectivism. So what does that mean, or how does that play out for me in my financial life? Well, in a collectivist culture, what's yours is everybody else's. So for example, if you buy a pickup truck, the whole village now has a pickup truck that they can use when they need it, essentially sharing. And the culture supports and celebrates you for this, which further reinforces the behavior, but there's a side we need to consider, which I'll dive into in a bit. Okay, if you buy a pickup truck, you maybe own the truck, but maybe now everyone gets to use it and you're celebrated. So this blurs the line between what's yours personally and what is the property of the group. What can happen in this case is a desire to buy love and attention. In an immigrant family with collectivist values, it can be easy to sacrifice one's own financial well-being for the so-called greater good of the society or group or clan, what have you. Furthermore, let's say that this individual sacrifice as a principle can become difficult to manage in an individualistic society. So follow me in this line of thinking. I will, as an individual member of this group, sacrifice my own financial well-being and take on debt and or go over budget so I can buy presents for the benefit of my group and my self-worth. But the collective group does not help me make those credit card payments or work extra hours to pay for these gifts. So I'm participating in this collectivist culture, but suffering as an individual to carry and service accumulated debt. Okay, now it's a free country, you can do what you want, but we also live in smaller groups with societal expectations and cultural norms. In some cases, people don't feel or cannot see that they have freedom of choice, and this might be explained by a very strong instinctual desire to be a part of. The desire to have community and to be accepted as one among a group is so strong because it was once tied to our survival in the hunter-gatherer days of early man. Prehistoric man needed the clan for survival out in the wild. Okay. In modern society, the instinctual desire to be part of a group is ingrained in our social DNA to this day. And when it comes to survival, we do whatever it takes. Some of these survival skills, however, do not translate well in our modern world of consumption. One part of learning to spend within your means and reprogramming your relationship to money and spending is to set boundaries. Boundaries are easier to maintain, however, when you have a clear reason why you want to achieve something. So I'm always harping about values and vision in the future and having a real clear picture in your mind of what it is you want. I'll share a link to the video at the end of this one. Setting up new boundaries is not easy, but it is worth it. There will be times when it becomes difficult for you to choose between prioritizing yourself and choosing the new behavior. And in this case, keeping in mind your end goal of being financially independent might help you stick to the new behavior. So in this case, the new behavior might be the introduction of a new rule for yourself. For example, I am not going to take on any debt to buy Christmas presents for my family this year. Now, that statement might trigger like an emotional, uncomfortable fear. And perhaps it's the fear that you will be ostracized and ridiculed, and fear that people will think that you are cheap and selfish. And you know, that is where the personal work has to go in. It will be difficult to be in these emotions. And this is where the personal work goes in. It's gonna be difficult to manage these new emotions, and know that they're temporary. Nothing lasts forever. However, this moment of discomfort around establishing a new behavior and its new boundary is where the growth happens, because it is in this uncomfortable feeling that you have been avoiding. You now become able to feel it. Feel your biggest fear. And when we're establishing new boundaries, it may play out in ways that you are not wanting, but it could also play out in ways that might surprise you. Maybe through your bravery and leadership, by introducing this new boundary within your family system, you might inspire someone else to practice this authenticity. It's brave to want to practice a new habit, especially one that is one you've never practiced. When you establish boundaries, there might be folks in your life who might be impacted by your boundaries. And for people who have been accustomed to living with no boundaries, they now find themselves up against one that you've introduced. There's likely going to be pushback because you've introduced a new way of being in the world, and people do not like change. It's also likely that it's going to be uncomfortable for them, because it might require them to reckon with their own behavior and make adjustments. You see this a lot, like when someone gets sober in a family, you know, someone else might be not so supportive because it makes them look at their own drinking, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so what this does, however, is it introduces this like opportunity for growth. So today in my story, I'm not afraid of letting anyone down. You know, by that same token, I do have remorse and regret that I can't be the provider the way I want to be, but I know that I am still loved. I know that I am still appreciated and valued in my family system. I think they're in fact, like I think they just want me to be present. And I can't be present if I'm concerned about money. I can't enjoy the moment if I'm concerned about money. I'm likely going to harbor a resentment because now I'm in debt, so I can give this person in my family a gift. And that's like the opposite of what I'm trying to achieve here. Anyway, I want to be generous and I want to give what I can afford, but you know, given my financial priorities, as I've already elaborated, it's just not where I am financially. And it's just not the right choice for me at this time. What helps get me through this is that like this is not going to be every Christmas. This is just for right now. And my situation is going to change because I'm taking prudent steps now to tackle my own debting. I'm prioritizing me and taking the prudent steps to ensure that my financial situation is solid and that I'm not taking on additional financial pressures to appease anyone else. That, for me, is old behavior, and that's what I'm actively trying to prevent. Now, I'm not suggesting that you cancel your holiday by any stretch, but I do invite you to look at the holidays through this lens of like emotions and what is the feeling you actually want to leave people with this season. And maybe that might be a thoughtful gift or a conversation or a shared experience to express this emotion. What I want you to do is just really think, do you need to buy multiple presents to express this emotion or this feeling? Is that the only way to make the season bright? Check your intentions. Are your personal values being sacrificed? And a note for you folks with kids, I get it, there are expectations that children may have, and part of the expectations originate from outside pressures, from media and marketing, but it might also be your self-imposed expectations of your own duties and expectations of yourself during this holiday. So maybe take time to reflect and ask yourself, what is the feeling or emotion I'm trying to convey to my child with this gift? It might be difficult, as I said before, to introduce new behavior into your family system, but perhaps an incremental change in your willingness to look at your motivations is going to be sufficient this season. Because my hope is that this video inspires or evokes change in you to make meaningful changes throughout the year. And I do like the holidays now, and that's primarily because for the last 4 years I've sung with the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus, and we start learning holiday songs at the end of summer to be ready for our holiday concerts. Rehearsing every week and being part of this community brings me great joy. My face is typically beaming with glee when I'm on stage with my chorus, and especially when my family is in the audience. So it's this lovely shared experience. It's become a new family tradition, and it makes me truly joyful. So these days, that's the greatest gift of the season for me. Thank you for watching my financial level up video. If you like this video, please give me a like and a subscribe so that you can receive an update when the next video comes out. Your support will help make this endeavor profitable so that I can continue to bring financial planning advice to more folks. Thanks again, and remember that I wish you prosperity and abundance in all things today and every day. I'll see you next time.